Devlin, Untamed. The Platform.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. The very first one of 2024, iOS. It's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan Wall. Now, we do a live program on the Platform, 1 till 4 every afternoon. You've got to download the app to listen to that, the Platform NZ. This podcast pretty much wraps up what we did during the show today. Highlights package of, including interviews with Graeme Agars talking Australian Open tennis, Paul Ifill, Phoenix legend, on the Knicks winning 4-3 against Perth last night, sitting atop the A-League table. Cock-a-doodle-doo halfway through the competition, can't be denied. As well as that, we welcome back LBP with TMG. That's Let's Be Positive with Twizel's Matt Gunn, and talk NFL. Hakung Wong with us at FB Garbage Time. The man's Twitter handle, and that is his podcast. And the two divisional games played today, including the Cowboys getting absolutely walloped. We begin the show, as always. Tablets in hand, I say gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. Let us go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
So what do we learn from the weekend sport then, in no particular order? The Black Caps are owning Pakistan in this T20 series. Last night, another convincing win in Hamilton on the back of Friday's performance in Auckland. Now, the T20 World Cup isn't until June, so these results won't mean anything at all by the time that one rolls around, which is also why it's kind of difficult to get too up or down or anything about these games. Remember, we lost the T20 to Bangladesh around Christmas time. Can you even remember that? And James Neesham came out afterwards and says, well, you don't really dwell on any game of T20 these days. I thought that was the most pertinent comment that I'd read about T20 cricket. It's just, what is it exactly? I think we can just celebrate the fact that we're winning, we're playing well at the moment. 3 more games to go in a 5-match series. What else is there to gain, to talk, to glean from it? Manchester City are not going to give up the Premier League title anytime soon. Yesterday, a very significant, hard-fought win at Newcastle. They are the best club in the world. Yes, I know it sticks in the craw, but they are. They won the World Cup Championship last year. They're only 2 points behind Liverpool now, top of the table. Now, there's plenty of games to play left in the Premier League. It's still way too early to call it. But it does look out a shootout between those two. The only 2 teams to have won the title in the last 7 seasons, and really the only 2 that are consistent enough, you think, to sustain a challenge this year. Speaking of football, the Phoenix are right in the mix for the A-League title. I don't want to jinx the Knicks by saying that they are going to win it, but you can't deny the form, the results, and the position on the table right now. Half the season is gone. It is undeniable. Jump on the bandwagon. Another win on the road last night, 4-3 at Perth. And my man, Costa Barbarouses, my man Costa, has scored 5 games in a row for the Knicks, which is a club record. Top of the table. Not on goal difference, but on this weird thing that the A-League do where it's all about wins. No other league in the world operates under that system. But hey, top of the league, Knicks, take it every single day of the week. As for the Breakers, they're hanging in there, but only just, struggling to find any real consistency still in a season with 8 games left. A really impressive 4-win streak over Christmas, but the team went from 4-9 to 8-9, and they're now 8-12 after 3 consecutive losses. So struggling to stay in touch, and it's been like that all season, just haven't been able to string a run of games together. So with 8 to go, 4 behind the 500. However, only 2 teams in the ANBL are above the 500. That is more wins than losses. So the Breakers aren't out of it yet. They don't look like a team that's going to win this competition, but they still do look like a team, mostly, I believe, even though they've lost, many more games than they've won, that can still make the playoffs. And finally, the NFL playoffs are underway, and the world's richest and one of the most popular domestic leagues is at the mercy of Mother Nature. 2 matches yesterday directly affected by the weather. Kansas City beating Miami, minus 24 degrees at kickoff, freezing, literally. Even Tay-Tay was dressed for the occasion. Today, The Bills were meant to play the Steelers, but that game has been pushed till tomorrow because of a blizzard that hit Buffalo. 3 feet of snow. It looked like a tornado meets a tsunami from the pictures that I saw. Cold weather football, winter football, snow and ice football. Would it be better if these games were played indoors? Should those matches be moved to stadiums where they aren't affected by the weather? Not a hint of it, not a question of it. It will never happen. Don't even suggest it.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
He's going to be talking about last night's T20 in Hamilton. After the headlines, Lock, what do we got?
Plenty, Martin. Being a Monday, there's always a lot to discuss from the weekend that has been. I'll start off with good news. Well, actually, no. Okay, this isn't good news, sorry. I'll start off with the most newsworthy of news. Black Cap skipper Kane Williamson is unlikely to feature in the remainder of the T20 series against Pakistan after sustaining a hamstring injury during last night's victory in Hamilton. Williamson retiring hurt while batting in the first innings at Seddon Park. He didn't return to the field for the remainder of the game. Gary Stead spoke to media at the airport today and said it is unlikely he will play the rest of this series. They are awaiting scans on said injury. Until then, they can't really make further comment. Right, now to some good news. The Wellington Phoenix have returned to the top of the men's A-League table, courtesy...
Touchdown!
Another one.
Green Bay.
So it's going to be 48-16.
Go for 2 and make it 50, don't you think?
Why not?
You'd call 2 now, wouldn't you?
Well, it's not... Okay, it's the start of the fourth quarter, so jeez. But the Phoenix back on top of the A-League table, 4-3 win over Perth Glory. A very entertaining match, that one. It was in Sydney. Why did they play Perth in Sydney?
Yeah, I got confused about that.
They had a special, they called it a Unite round. All the games in Sydney, maybe. That could have been it. But in terms of the table, the Phoenix are tied at the top, and if you're a traditional football fan, you'd think actually they shouldn't be top because they don't have the best goals difference. But there's a new sort of table rule in the A-League that I think they do it based on wins now. So the Phoenix actually have the most wins in the league with 7. But they're tied with Melbourne Victory, who are second. They've only got 6 wins, but a better goal diff. Both of those teams 3 points ahead of the third placed Western Sydney Wanderers. The Breakers, not so good news. We had a couple of Kiwi teams playing, a number of them over the weekend. Wasn't good for the Breakers. Their form looked like it had turned. They looked like they were on the march to a finals place, but a couple of losses now. And they lost by 29 to the Sydney Kings in Sydney last night. In terms of the table, the Breakers are back down to second to last. 8 wins, 12 losses. They've got a couple of games coming up in New Zealand, I believe, which starts against Southeast Melbourne on Saturday. New Zealand have claimed a second successive leg of Sail GP, starting 2024 by winning the Abu Dhabi leg of this year's championship. Back-to-back race wins for them. Good stuff for the New Zealand team. Defending champions Novak Djokovic and Arina Sabalenka both earned first-round victories over teenagers as the Australian Open got underway yesterday. In terms of important matches today, I'm just kind of looking through it at the moment. There's a few going on right now, but I'll be honest, none of them really involve big names. Elena Svitolina, in the women's draw, probably the most noteworthy in there. For the men, not really too many as well as I said. Daniil Medvedev, though, is getting underway at 2 p.m. without a flag next to him because he's Russian, but he's not Russian at the same time. That's what they do. The Premier League. Manchester United, Tottenham this morning. Man United led twice in this game. Yeah. And twice Spurs came back to level, 2-2 in the end at Old Trafford. And in the second half, I didn't watch it, but apparently you guys were awful and just getting dominated. Aston Villa and Everton drawing 0-0 this morning. Over the weekend, Man City with a great win over Newcastle. A very important win, and they are now second on the table, 2 points off Liverpool. But with Kevin De Bruyne back, and with Liverpool with a few injuries and kind of, short-handed with Mo Salah and Wataru Endo on international duty, it'll be very hard for them to sustain that lead, I would think. But anyway, Liverpool on top by 2 points ahead of Man City, who was second. Man United with the draw moved up to 7th.
Hey!
Spurs sit 5th after their draw. That was with United, as I say. The NFL playoffs, a couple of games yesterday, one going on at the moment, which we've talked about already a fair bit. The Packers just absolutely shellacking the Cowboys. 48-16 is the score at the moment. Did they go for 2? They might have gone for 2. No, it's 48-16. Fourth quarter, early on in the fourth quarter, Cowboys pretty much, they're all but out on that. 2:15 today, the Lions from Detroit, the first playoff game in Detroit in 30 years, they take on the LA Rams. And finally, a week after leading the University of Michigan to a national title in the college football playoff, Jim Harbaugh, once a coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and he was a damn good coach when he was at the 49ers, he will meet with the LA Chargers about their head coach vacancy this week. This according to a person familiar with the situation who told the Associated Press over in the USA. That's what's making news, Martin.
Devlin.
That is a disgusting act.
The platform.
The Phoenix, read it, top of the A-League table. Now, it's kind of queer the way that the A-League do it. They're the only league in the world, I think, that doesn't decide who sits top on goal difference. So if you worked it out that way, Melbourne Victory would be on top. They haven't lost in the A-League yet. They're 6-6. The Phoenix 7-3-2. But because they've got more wins, they sit atop. Legend, striker for the Phoenix, Paul Ifill, joins us to discuss how far this team can go and can they keep going. Thrilling victory against Perth Glory, and sitting at the top of the table, you can't deny that, can you? After 12 games have been played, it's almost halfway through the campaign. You can't deny where the Phoenix are.
I think they've been brilliant, and I think even probably if you look at it, the gaffer will be very pleased, and I think he's probably still thinking, is this real? Is this actually happening? But I like how measured he's been. He's just saying he's taking each game as it comes, and they're not looking at the title or the playoffs or anything. They're just trying to win each week, and they continue to do so. And I thought it probably wasn't the best they played last night. I didn't think they defended too well, but they look such an attacking threat, and Costa Barbarouses is absolutely on fire at the minute.
Yeah, so at the start of the season, though, I thought the defence was particularly what had kept them in games, and that he seemed, Chiefy seemed to have an attitude that, look, he didn't really care how the team looked or how they looked going forward. He just wanted to keep it nice and compact, composed at the back and not concede goals.
Yeah, I think so, and I don't know if that's changed. I don't know if that's a mindset or, things have changed as the season has gone on. I think they've been pretty good defensively for the most part, barring last night. They did look shaky, but to get across the line against Perth is all you need at this stage. Sometimes it's about how you're playing. Sometimes it's about getting those 3 points and remaining at the top of the table. And I think it's like I said, keep going back to it, but I think it's a mindset thing. The longer you can stay up there, who knows what happens. I always look back to when Leicester shocked everybody in the Premier League, and everybody said, they're going to fall apart in a minute. They're going to, including myself, kept saying it. They're going to fall. And then week after week, they just kept trying to win a game, and all of a sudden, they were a few points clear with a couple to go, and you're like, actually, they're going to do this. So I'm hopeful that the Phoenix can do similar.
Paul, do you think the roster is actually better last year on paper than it is this year?
Definitely, yeah, which is crazy. It shows you just how well Chiefy has done up to this point. He's been a little bit lucky in the fact that most of his players have stayed fit. And then you look at the one that you don't want to get injured in Zavada, who they relied on last year. He gets injured. And then Costa Barbarouses steps up and shows the form that probably the Phoenix fans have never seen. I think he's been an amazing player in the A-League, but not necessarily for the Phoenix. And I think at last, the fans are getting to see the best of Costa, and it's brilliant. I'm really pleased.
Yeah, tried out of his career, scoring the last 5 games, and it's the first time ever any player has, so that's a hell of a record. He probably took your record, as a matter of fact.
No, I didn't score often enough, mate. No, but what I would say is I remember, being in the team when he was coming through, and he didn't get too many opportunities because of the likes of myself and Chris Greenacre. He had to go elsewhere. Goes elsewhere, does really well at Brisbane Roar, Melbourne Victory, Sydney, blah, blah, blah. He's had a really, really good career. But when he came back to the Phoenix last time, it was a, bad time for the club. Things weren't going well, and everybody sort of said, he's earning all this money as a marquee, not really doing the business, and he sort of went under a cloud. So when he came back, there wasn't too much fanfare. But this season, wow, he's been unbelievable.
Hell of a match-up this weekend, then top of the table, Phoenix home, the Victory on Friday night, 7 o'clock. So look forward to a good crowd there in Wellington too. It'd be great to see, I know that they're not going to pack it out, but it'd be great to see a crowd of 15 or 20,000, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, if you're not going to go and support the guys on a Friday night when they're top of the table, when are you? So let's make sure that everybody's behind them. Yeah, real opportunity to put a bit of daylight between us and Victory.
At the start of the season, Paul Ifill, Phoenix Legends, with the start of the season, what were your hopes for with a brand new coach in this team?
Top 6.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd make the playoffs and maybe get past that first round, because we haven't done that for a long time. I looked at the squad. I thought it was okay. I thought it was going to have to rely too much on the youngsters. I thought if too many got injured, we wouldn't have the depth. So again, kudos to what he's done. He's got the players believing in what he has shown them. I think he's been really, really measured. Every time I've seen him speak, I'll come away from it going, yeah, this guy, knows what he's doing. He's got them where he wants them. And obviously the proof is in the pudding. Once you keep winning, those players who maybe weren't sure at the start are now starting to believe in his system and what he believes in. So all of a sudden it's one of those rolling trains. It's really hard to stop. So like I keep going back to, hopefully they can just keep it rolling, and we're talking about one of those seasons at the end of it.
Paul, how good are the Melbourne Victory? Who haven't lost yet? 1-6, drawn 6. How good is that side?
Yeah, they're class. They're very good. So this is going to be a massive test. But at home, I don't see us being too bothered about who's coming into town. It's, when you're playing like the Phoenix are playing, then they always seem to find a way at the moment. The victory will be looking at a way to stopping Costa. I think Cryev's been good. I thought Alex Rufer last night was excellent, and he's had a big campaign as captain.
All right, okay. So can you see the team being able to sustain and maintain this, staying at the top of the table, or do you think eventually by the season ends that it might be a first, second or a third spot?
I still don't see us winning it, but I don't know if that's me playing it down because I don't want to get carried away.
Yep.
I see us third or fourth, but I don't think that's terrible either. If we can finish in that top four, I think we can go deep into the playoffs, and then who knows? But I do think Victory still look the best side in the comp, and I still think Melbourne City have got a run to come. So it's going to be difficult, but if he can keep everybody fit and keep them believing, who knows?
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Moan. I'm moaning sick all the time. Oh, it's Monday. I got to moan on. You got to start the show with a good moan on a Monday, don't you? The ASB Classic. I worry about this tournament. I only worry about it because I think that it has been treated as a bit of a joke, a bit of a glorified training run by some of the players. Certainly the men's event anyway. All eyes this week are now on Cam Norrie and the German player Daniel Altmaier at the Australian Open. Both of these guys were high-profile injury, and I say that in inverted commas, withdrawals from the ASB last week. It was a wrist injury for Norrie and back for Altmaier. Now, look, I'm not saying they weren't injured, but I am questioning whether the injuries were so serious that they had to dick the fans and diddle the event, pulling the pussy moves that they did. Is that a bit harsh? Saving themselves for the Australian Open? Because that's very obviously what it looked like. A little too convenient for these eyes. And that's a rip for everyone who pays good money to watch these guys play. The ASB is in danger of being little more than a glorified hit and giggle T20 celebrity reality TV tournament where some of the players take the money, take the appearance money, but treat the event like a week-long practice match. The Australian Open performances and appearances are going to tell us a lot. Look, I'm not bagging the ASB Classic. I think it's a brilliant event, both the men's and the women's, but it's more of a kind of a society thing, isn't it? It's a place to go, a place to be seen, a place to have fun, as opposed to the quality of the tennis. Now, Norrie plays tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Altmaier at 4 this afternoon in the first Grand Slam of the year. Let's just wait and see how bad those injuries exactly were for these two who withdraw from the ASB, Mr. Altmaier and Mr. Norrie.
Devlin.
I'm as bad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
The platform.
Australian Open tennis, who is going to stop Novak, and is Coco Gauff going to go back-to-back? And I mean, that's winning her second Grand Slam title. Fresh off course, the ASB Classic. She's the favourite at Melbourne after winning the US Open last year. But can anyone stop Novak Djokovic from winning his 25th Grand Slam? Graeme Agars joins us. This time of year, all eyes on that Australian Open. It's just a brilliant way to kickstart the year. Top quality sport, the world's best players. And Novak Djokovic, this time, Graeme, says that his most difficult opponent is himself. Now, contrast this with last year at the French, where he was saying, all you younger guys, we're too old now, us three, me, Rafa and Roger, it's up to you guys. So what's changed in that time?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, the question is this the year that Father Time catches up with Novak Djokovic? And I have a feeling it is. He comes into the Australian Open this year with a wrist injury, perhaps because the heavier balls are affecting his practice sessions, perhaps not. And he's also admitted after the slugfest that he got himself involved in last night that he's not feeling very well, whether it's COVID or a cold or an allergy or what, we don't know. But he's got a very husky voice and admitted he'd been under the weather for the last 4 or 5 days. So absolutely not the ideal preparation for Novak coming in. And he can consider himself lucky to still be in the championship after that brilliant performance by this 18-year-old Croatian kid, Dino Prismic. We're going to hear a lot more from him coming up, I have no doubt. He's built like Rafa Nadal. He's an absolute bull of a tennis player, and he's got tons of talent. So Novak, I think, can start to see the writing on the wall, and how he deals with it here at the Australian Open will probably give us an idea of how this year is going to go for him.
Is Alcaraz still the major threat to him at this tournament and also for the year?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I have a feeling that Alcaraz overplayed, on the back of his 2 Grand Slam successes, is putting too much pressure on himself, and is showing signs that he could be one of the injury-prone tennis players. I hope not, and I don't want to jinx him. But I'm not confident with Novak being a little wobbly that Alcaraz is the guy we should look to. I think we're more Jannik Sinner and Medvedev. That's the way I'm feeling at the moment. But, he's going to get his championship underway tomorrow, and we'll just see what sort of form he brings into Australia.
All right, then outside of him, who else is going to really have a good realistic chance at taking this Aussie Open crown off Novak?
Okay, so we'll put Medvedev and Sinner at the top of that list. Then you've got Alexander Zverev, as good a tennis player as you've ever seen, but incapable on many occasions of putting it, on the court for 5 sets when he really needs to. The perennial challenger, Stefanos Tsitsipas, who's not one of the young guys now. He's on the wrong side of 25 and needs to deliver in a Grand Slam. And maybe this might be the last realistic year for him to get that sort of thing done. And then you've got the sort of Casper Ruuds and Holger Runes, the Scandinavian kids that have got all the tennis talent in the world and are performing well at the top level, but need to start winning Grand Slams to be, in the equation more often. So it's a pretty open men's championship as far as I'm concerned, if you assume that Novak's not going to do what he always does in slams, and that is start out a little shaky and get stronger as the tournament goes on.
Graeme Agars has been with us for decades now, covering the Grand Slams and the golf majors. Let's look at the women's draw then. Who stands out to you?
Well, I'm a big Coco Gauff fan. I know it's not very professional, but I am. And I was delighted to see her break through in New York for her first Grand Slam. Played great tennis there and showed that she'd gone the next level. She's a great player, but now she's mature enough to win at Grand Slams. And doing it in New York also showed that she can handle the pressure because being an American and being sort of a replacement for Serena Williams, she was feeling the pressure from the moment she walked into that tennis center. But she delivered. So I'm keeping an eye on her. The others are obvious. Sabalenka, the defending champion, conceded just 1 game last night. Sabalenka and Coco are headed for a second-week showdown at the Australian Open. That could decide the bottom half of the draw. The top half belongs, I think, either to Swiatek or Rybakina, and they will bump into each other in the second week. You've also got to throw in, I guess, Jessica Pegula, Ons Jabeur, who's got to win a Grand Slam this year before it completely gets away from her. And if you want a couple of, kind of wild cards, we've got Naomi Osaka and Caroline Wozniacki in the mothers' comeback brigade.
Yes.
And they're both still playing top-level tennis. So we'll just see how they go. I would love to see them both make the second week of the championship, but by the same token, I would not be surprised if they get upset in the first week.
Graeme, Novak almost won a Grand Slam last year. I mean, he was that Wimbledon final away against Alcaraz, and he had so many chances in that tag. I mean, is there I don't know, is there a possibility that he could actually pull it off this year? Is this his final chance?
Well, as I said, I think old man time is starting to catch up with him. He's starting to have more niggles and more often as he goes through the year. But, Novak is the ultimate professional in his scheduling, in his practice, in his diet, in his exercise regime, in his ability to recover from injuries, and his uncanny and amazing ability to focus when he needs to focus to get the job done. I saw an interesting article the other week about Novak, and I think it's true. Unlike Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer, who constantly modified and changed and improved their games through their careers to stay competitive, Novak, once he got past his early fitness problems, has pretty much delivered the same game every time he steps on court. Now, obviously, he's refined it, but he's not changed it. He's the best return of service the game has ever seen, and still is. He's tactically brilliant, mentally unbelievably strong, and he's got more finesse around the court. He's better at the net than he was, and he's still got speed. So all of that makes him an amazing package. But it's not new. When you watch a Djokovic match, you've seen it all before. There are very rarely any surprises, and it's incredible that at the age of 36, he can still beat everybody.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. We'll talk to Andy Buckley all about that.
The Tight Five.
Right about this time, every single day on the show, though, we roll through 5 topics, roughly 60 seconds on each. And when the bell goes ding, we move on to the next topic. NFL postseason. What have we made of it so far, Lachlan? Pakistan versus New Zealand, the T20 series. What have we made of it so far, Lachlan? The Aussie Open. Who you got? You agree with Graeme Agars there that it's just, Novak and probably Coco, Breakers and the Phoenix. What is more chance of happening here? The Knicks win it all or the Breakers make the playoffs? Lachlan, you can decide on that. Talk about the ASB tennis and also talk about going to the Breakers. We'll wrap it all up with that. But the NFL, which is on at the moment, well, not a shock result yesterday with the Texans absolutely blowing out the Browns. The significance of, though, is Joe Flacco, who had just been moneyed. Now, this is a guy who won a Super Bowl in 2013 with the Ravens. An incredible performance, I remember that year. I think he threw 11 touchdowns, no picks or something. And the Ravens came from the wild card to actually win it all. Then he just mooses it yesterday with consecutive intercepts, run back to the house, which is called pick 6 in the NFL, lost the game essentially at that point for his team. And then you see Dak Prescott do exactly the same today with the Cowboys. The other game, Kansas City, were always going to beat Miami. I watched that game yesterday, and it was one of those turgid games where you kind of know the result from the opening kickoff, don't you? Yeah. Miami, apart from one huge pass downtown to the cheetah Tyreek Hill, they were never in that game. So what have we made of it so far? Green Bay now go to San Francisco regardless.
Yes, because they were the lowest wild card.
They're the lowest wild card.
So they'll play.
And they must fancy their chances here. This guy Jordan Love has been lights out in the last couple of games.
Yeah. The Niners, I think, are the best team in the league, though. I don't think they'll have much trouble with that.
Well, if they are fully fit and they are playing well, yes, but I watched them lose to the Ravens and get absolutely...
Yeah, but the Ravens also have an incredible defensive front, or defence altogether. So, look, it's a great, incredible win from the Packers. I've always, when it comes to the Cowboys in the playoffs, they're their own worst enemy. And especially with Dak Prescott as their quarterback, they've had 1 or 2 playoff wins ever, and they've had a number of losses. They never get to the championship game, and it's a guy who puts up these incredible stats all year, and then when he gets to the playoffs...
Are you calling him Tony Romo? Is that who you're calling him?
No, he's not that good.
Prescott?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
No, Tony Romo...
Well, what did Romo
Tony Romo was a great... He was just always injured. He was always injured. When he was healthy, he was great.
What did he ever do in the playoffs?
Well, you can say that about every single Cowboys quarterback. You can say that about pretty much every quarterback in the NFL of the last 30 years, bar about 6 or 7.
Who you got this afternoon then? Detroit playing.
Well, I have money on the Rams to either win or only lose by 3. So I'm hoping I think the Rams will win. Did you see Stafford got booed walking into the stadium?
Good-o. He doesn't play for them anymore.
Yeah, but he didn't leave by choice. He got traded.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't play for them anymore. Then you go Jared.
He made them relevant. They were 0-16. They draft him. He takes them to the playoffs 3 times. Come on.
Yeah, I got a feeling that the Rams will do it as well. I just can't back Jared Goff in any kind of pressure situation. He should be playing for the Commanders the way that he plays. Pakistan versus New Zealand in the T20s. What do we make of it?
Nothing. I saw a stat when I was watching last night. No, I think it was the one in Auckland, When Finn Allen came up to bat, Finn Allen, and he's been around for a year or two, a couple of years. He's very young, and yet he's already played like 35 T20s.
Really?
Yeah. Which I can't believe. And then I just realised, it's because we play like 50 a year.
Yeah, it just feels like a completely different form of cricket. I admire the fact that they're getting good crowds, which I think is excellent, because people don't pay their money to go along to watch something that they don't want to go along and watch. So anytime you get a good sports crowd at any game, you've got to look at it and go, wow, okay, so they're doing something right. But it's just, I just want some meaning with my sport. I kind of,
the problem is
if it doesn't mean anything, I just find it hard to get that excited about it. I can be interested, like I was interested last night, but after we got 194, pretty much that was the game over as far as I was concerned. They weren't going to hit any.
Yeah, when you overstuff your schedule, you minimise the importance of it. It's like what we say about the NFL and why we love it every year. Part of it is because there's only 16, 17 games in a season. It only goes for a couple of months, whereas the NBA and baseball, the regular season just never ends.
That's why I don't think that for a lot of us, we pay that much attention to it. There is the odd game you do. So we played Bangladesh in, was it one days and T20s before that, and tests before this, was it?
Yeah, I think it was all three formats.
Was it all three formats?
I think it was. Yeah. And
what the hell is that noise in the background?
We just both got distracted by someone pounding out their music in the parking lot next to us. But I mean, I want to say the only thing about Test cricket is that we don't play much. When we do, we play the same blimmin' opponents, which is never South Africa or Australia.
Mine, Australia, look, I tried to tune into that Test series against Pakistan, and all those Test matches were over in a day. You know, Pakistan
was it the third? Because I was overseas
they
when it
almost
was...
got close. They almost got close.
Almost, yeah.
And now they play the West Indies and Australia in a series of Test matches.
When Australia are hosting a team over the summer, when they've got the Boxing Day Test in particular, it needs to be South Africa, England or India.
Yeah, it's turning into it, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen, where you're going to have about 3 or 4 Test series, and that doesn't involve us. That involves England and Australia, England versus India, India versus Australia, and then that's pretty much it. The rest of it is all just going to be these meaningless T20s. Look, I'm loving the fact we're winning. I'm just finding it hard to get excited. The Australian Open, who you got?
I'll always lean towards Novak on every surface bar clay.
But he won the French last year.
I was just about to say, but the guy who I would back for clay is not there. He's probably not going to be there in the French Open. He's not there for the Australian Open, that being Rafael Nadal. So I'll back Novak. I absolutely am buying into and believing the hype of Alcaraz. And he's won, 2 Grand Slams?
2 Grand Slams.
So he should absolutely be in the conversation. He's so unorthodox and strange. He says weird things. Not many people like him, which is a bit unfair, but I've always really liked Daniil Medvedev as a player. He's just so unorthodox with the way he plays. I think he makes people uncomfortable. If he's uncomfortable to watch, he must be uncomfortable to play. But he's very good on hard surfaces. So I'd say Medvedev as well.
Are you on the Coco train?
The women's tennis is strange because there's just no names who get to the final in at least 1 or 2 of the Grand Slams every year. And there's never been a consistent winner. Maybe because we were so used. Maybe actually that's what tennis is always... Well, it was always
Serena Williams, wasn't it?
I was going to say, apart from Serena. But I mean, I've only been a fan of tennis really since the big 3 in men and Serena winning the women. So it's strange to see... I remember there was a year with Danielle Collins, who was like 35 and came out of nowhere to get to... I think she might have even been unseeded as well, but came out of nowhere to get to a final. It's like, well, this woman's been around for like 15 years and only now she's in the final. Anyway, but I don't know. I'll back Coco because she's probably the most informed player in the world right now.
I like the fact that if she can win the ASB, then go and win that. I mean, it's kind of good publicity for our tournaments here. Breakers in Phoenix, what is more chance of happening? The Knicks win it all or the Breakers make the playoffs?
Breakers make the playoffs. They won 3 or 4 in a row and all of a sudden they were in 6th. Which you only need to finish in the top 6.
Yeah, they won 4 in a row, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, over the Christmas period.
And I thought at that stage that this is it right
here
now.
We go,
yeah, exactly. Now we've got the Breakers that were the Breakers last season. And then, look, I went to watch that game at the Spark Arena, and it was a couple of Sundays ago it was, actually. It was a Sunday, 4 o'clock, I think it was. Did it start about 4? Anyway, fantastic entertainment, it really is. But I just thought that they were wasteful. They just didn't seem to have the kind of defensive intensity that they had last year, and they were wasteful with baskets. Like, they had a 14-point lead in the first quarter, should have been 28, but they were fanning around. Several times they were in position to score 2 and then would kick it out for 3 and miss the 3.
I hate that.
I hate that
the most in modern basketball when you give up easy layups or makeable layups.
Get the points.
Yeah.
Get the points.
For a
Put the
3.
points on the board. But the Knicks, though, we're going to talk to Paul Ifill about this in a second. I mean, that's impressive, man. Look, any time you get halfway through a season and you're sitting on top of the table.
Well, the last time they did this was when Ernie Merrick became the coach, and then they were top of the table in different weeks in the first half of the season, and then eventually fell away. And I don't know how many games they've played and how many they've got to go specifically. I don't know if they're at the halfway point yet, but it just doesn't feel like they've been, whenever they've been top, which is not much in itself, it's actually lasted this long. So that's incredible. Then again, I'll say this about the Phoenix. They've never won the A-League, and they've got a rookie coach. And I would argue that the roster's probably not the best in the league, even though I'm not the biggest fan and follower of the A-League. So I'd still lean towards the Breakers making the finals and the Phoenix winning it. Then again, I mean, is it Girona and the La Liga? People are saying that about them at the moment. They're top of the table, or they're or thereabouts, and their run won't end. We said this about Leicester when they won the Premier League, not comparing the Phoenix to Leicester,
point.
but, strange things have happened.
All right. And a RFZ, a rugby-free zone. No mention of the word today. No mention of the word.
And I haven't missed it.
I haven't.
I've got to be honest.
I can honestly say, I'll talk about this a bit more tomorrow, people, but I haven't missed rugby one bit. Now, obviously I was aware of all the stories when they had a training camp up here in Auckland a week or two ago, I think, and Scott Robertson, Razor got his first All Black, can I say his squad together? We got a whole lot of All Blacks together, didn't he? Fitness tested them all, and I was just thinking, wow, I just haven't missed it one bit. Look, if you threw a Six Nations game on this weekend and said, hey, England playing Ireland, I'd watch it, for sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of Super Rugby, are you excited? No. See, I'm not. I mean, I have missed the NRL. I've got to be honest about that. I have missed the NRL, and I can't wait for that to start. But Super Rugby, I already know how it's going to end.
No, you can fast forward to the final, and it's probably going to be the Chiefs and the Crusaders.
Let's be positive out of Twizel. Matt Gunn joining us, regular correspondent with us every single Monday. Just looking back at the weekend sport, plus, of course, ahead to a couple of highlights. Well, will they be this year with his Wallabies and his beloved doggies? All right, sports-wise, David Warner flies a chopper into a BBL match, has a big send-off as far as Australian cricket goes. As an Australian, where does he sit in your eyes?
Oh, I'm not too sad to see him go. I must say that he's been extremely entertaining with the bat over the years. But, like many sports people, there's the other side of the persona that doesn't necessarily strike a chord with everyone. And I don't know, David Warner just seems to have been a little entitled. Certainly a tremendous batsman. The way he attacked, the way he took it into Test cricket, he sort of carried on the Adam Gilchrist way, never slowing up. Maybe he was a Baz ball before the Baz ball, but, it sums it up, doesn't it? We had the Mitchell Johnson incident last year when everyone was defending Warner going into his final one day as a test, and then we had the baggy green going missing, the bag with the baggy green, a story that I just can't get on board with. I mean, it's either a prank gone wrong or, look, the worst part of me feels like a sympathy-building exercise.
Yeah, publicity stunt. Yeah, same. Yeah. I mean, and that's because of the way that he behaved after the sandpaper thing, that stage press conference thing where he came in with his kids late at night. Everything is contrived, and I thought the same. As soon as I just thought, is this a hoax? Who really has stolen that? I mean, what person would say, go into your bag, steal that, and then, miraculously it's found the day before? Yeah, mate, I must admit, I was very cynical about it.
Yeah, I mean, the extreme circumstances and statistical data surrounding someone actually going into his bag, not knowing it was his bag, and taking a backpack with his kids' presents and the baggy greens in it, it just seemed too far. I reckon a prank gone wrong, but, there is a part of me that will always think that they just wanted to get him some sympathy. And, of course, the scraggy old baggy green did show up, just miraculously back in the hotel, just misplaced at some point. I don't know, Martin. I don't know. But the helicopter, look, some may be able to explain it away by saying he was in my former hometown of Cessnock in the Hunter Valley. And over the years, there's been more than one occasion when I've wanted to get out of there as quick as I could too. So maybe I would have taken a helicopter ride. But it's just a bit wanky, isn't it?
No,
a bit wanky.
It's just,
2.5 hour drive. I mean, they could have made the drive if need be. I'm sure he's got a nice enough car to have done that. But the helicopter landing in there while one of his teammates arrived on a push bike that he had to hire to get to the ground.
Let's be positive, Matt. Your Wallabies this year, what are you expecting?
I'm expecting improvement.
Well, it has to be improvement, doesn't it? I mean, you couldn't have had a worse year last year if you tried, mate.
No, we couldn't have had a worse year. Things went from bad to worse to even worse. And then finally, starting to clear things up with the coach going, even though he didn't want to go and he wasn't going to go, and then he did go. Look, we've got to get better. It's as simple as that. But I won't be holding my breath for any miraculous improvements. I'd say it'll be below average season again. And so I don't wish to think too deeply about it until we see them out there for their first game and see if they actually can put together a team that can concentrate for a full game.
All right. What about the Doggies and the Warriors this year? What are we thinking?
Well, I think the Warriors will. Be there or thereabouts this year. And I saw some footage the other day of Roger back in training. Did you see the photos? Did you see the short clips of Roger back in training for the Warriors? Yeah. He looks in terrific form, and the look on his face from the footage I've seen so far, Martin, puts him in a far better place than he ever looked when he was playing rugby. He looks like he's back where he belongs, and I think he'll be absolutely tremendous for the Warriors. And you know what? He might even be that extra little kick, formerly the world's best player, to help the Warriors continue on, as long as their halves are able to perform and open up some back. He's going to play fullback again, surely, right?
Oh, I would think so. I mean, they say that he's going to play centres. They've got to say, but I mean, Chance had such a great season last year. They've got to play centres. What about your Doggies, mate? Come on.
All right, we've bought well, Martin, and we have built a much better squad. I still have concerns about our halves combination, but I think we are looking much, much better than last year. Okay. And I am going into this season saying top 8.
What?
Top 8 is... absolutely. Top 8 this year. And I think we will be the surprise packet. We will be the Warriors of 2024. I'm putting it out there right now. I will not go in negatively. I am going in full tit. We are top 8 minimum. Watch out.
Let's be positive.
And
that's the whole point of this conversation is that let's be positive. All right. Well, let's just run quickly then over the 3 results yesterday. Black Caps had a win, another good win over Pakistan. I just don't know what we're meant to take from the T20 apart from, hey, we had a win. What else is here? What else is here to say?
Yeah, well, as long as they've got some good form coming out of this one, they do look all right. I mean, since that sort of big loss to Bangladesh in the opening test, they've been pretty solid, a little bit up and down against the bangers, but played well enough, I think, to take some form into South Africa and Australia, which I'm very much looking forward to. And there's a testing Christchurch at Hagley, which I might try and get up to for a couple of days.
Go on.
Let's hope they can compete in that. But you know, it's we've got cricket till March.
Ah, brilliant.
So it's actually been a pretty full-on, comprehensive season, hasn't it? A lot of cricket.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. NFL playoffs going on at the moment. This particular weekend and then next weekend are considered probably the 2 best in the comp every year. If you love your NFL, you'll be addicted to this. Wildcard weekend. And who doesn't hate the Dallas Cowboys taking it up the chutney big time from Green Bay today? Plus, all of the weather that meant the Bills in a blizzard had to get their matched move. Before we do anything else, can we talk about Buffalo? Because it was about 14 months ago that I was there with my sons, and we stood in the snow watching the Bills play the Jets. This time they've had to postpone the game till tomorrow because 3 feet of snow and a blizzard. And when you look at those pictures that they posted on social media, I was saying earlier, look between a hurricane and a tsunami, what was going on up there.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and in fact, it was basically a whiteout. It was impossible. If they tried to play the game today, first of all, no one could get to the stadium. They weren't landing any planes until later in the day. and no one was allowed on the roads to get to the stadium. But even if they did get to the stadium, they wouldn't be able to see where they're going. Now, that might not matter to some, like Joe Flacco, who throws, willy-nilly to the other team as well. But, if you actually want to win, you probably want to see where your receivers are. You would definitely not be able to see it in Buffalo right now.
See, okay, so just to explain that, people, just because, you've seen plenty of games with the NFL. They play in snow. They play in all kinds of weather. It's the logistics around getting people, because where the stadium is a motorway trip, and from the city, it's about 20 Ks on the motorway. Right. And that motorway can shut down. When the snow starts falling, if you get trapped on that motorway, well, you're there till the snow melts or they get you out. So it's more a health and safety thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you absolutely lose traction out there as well. I mean, I can tell you, I'm in Chicago right now, and I just came back in, and just a couple miles down the road, there was like a 5-car pileup. You wouldn't be able to tell. We don't even have snow covering the road, but that ice will kill you. The black ice is up there. It causes all sorts of danger for people getting in and out of the stadium, so they had to shut it down. And honestly, you wouldn't want to, like I said, you wouldn't want to see this game because you couldn't. It'd be all white out anyway. So it's a good move for them to move it to Monday.
Let's turn our attention to the games today then. Jerry Jones saying it's the worst defeat they've ever had in the playoffs. Now, this is the team, a storied franchise, the Dallas Cowboys. They won it 92, 93, 95. They haven't won it since. They were 8-0 at home in the regular season, although that Detroit game, they should have lost that to the 2-point play at the end. But how much of a surprise was this pantsing?
Oh, it's an incredibly huge surprise, Marty, because of the fact that Dallas Cowboys clearly, as we talked about before, were the number one offense in terms of points scored and yards and in the NFL per game. And they were even far surpassed those numbers at home, almost double those numbers at home. Their average 30 points all throughout the season per game. They averaged closer to 50 points when they were at home. They only put up 32, and most of that was in garbage time. I mean, I can say that 16 of them weren't even really points that mattered.
Okay, we're just going to interrupt you there, because this is the name of your podcast as well. It's FB. It's football garbage time. Exactly. And here is the perfect opportunity to explain it. Garbage time, people, is when the other team is up by 35 or 40, and the Warriors used to do this by 35 or 40 down, and then it ends up being 45-28 or something like that. Well, those 28 points are garbage points is what they are, because the game was lost.
That's right. And it's funny because if you look at the score now and you say 48-32, you're like, yeah, it was a shootout and the Green Bay Packers got the better of them at the end. No, it wasn't that at all. No. The Green Bay Packers were in the driver's seat the entire time. Now listen, let's not put this entirely on Dak Prescott, though. 14 of the Green Bay Packers points are directly off of his interceptions. One a pick six, one that was brought back to basically the red zone and was brought in for a touchdown later on by Aaron Jones. So 14 of those points are directly Prescott. But the defense did not stand up. Jordan Love was allowed to sit in the pocket, and they did get close to him, but then they broke down and they played a lot of zone defense, and that is a huge mistake. Now remember, the Dallas Cowboys like to bring pressure. They typically play man defense. For some reason, some wise guy thought they're going to switch it up and play zone because they could confuse a rookie quarterback. Jordan Love is not playing like a rookie quarterback right now. He diagnosed that immediately. He hit Romeo Doubs for 151 yards and a touchdown on 6 receptions. That is Romeo Doubs' best game of the year. And it's funny because every week is a different guy, right? It's Jaden Reed, it's Dontavian Wicks, it's Romeo Doubs, it's Christian Watson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't tell who is going to be next time. And that's the danger for the Green Bay Packers, because the Packers knew CeeDee Lamb was the guy. So he had to find another guy. He had to start forcing targets to Michael Gallup. CeeDee Lamb was 9 of 17. He had 110 yards. That sounds a lot better than he was, because through the first quarter, Dak Prescott had 0 passing yards. CeeDee Lamb had 0 receiving yards. That can't happen in a Dallas Cowboys offense. So clearly, let's give it up for the Green Bay Packers. I hate them because I'm a Bears fan, but they did a fantastic job on offense against those Dallas Cowboys, and they were opportunistic on defense. So, they did what they had to do.
Same as I hate the Cowboys, and so I absolutely luxuriated in that result. 21-17 to the Lions over the Rams at the moment. Now, because the Packers are the 7th seed, that game is already confirmed. So they now next in the divisional round will go to San Francisco. That's locked in, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's right. That's locked in. That'll be really fun to see, because I do think these Packers, they're playing loose. They're playing with house money. They're not even supposed to be there today. So the end of the day, they're going to be under no pressure to perform. The 49ers are going to be under pressure to perform now that the Cowboys has lost. So this will be very interesting to see how this shakes out.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, Download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable! Incredible!
The Platform.